So, I've been playing a lot of Pizza Tower. The game is incredible. I've been loving every minute of it. So I thought, hey, I could whip up a quick script for the video and send it over to my editor while I'm working on the System Shock 2 video. But then I kept playing the game, and so much more stuff just kept happening. It felt like every level had its own gameplay mechanic that I wanted to talk about. Needless to say, I would not be able to make just a quick video out of this game. So what was the next best thing, I asked myself? Well, there's the Wario Land games, which Pizza Tower was very directly inspired by. I've got some good memories of playing Wario Land 4 on the Game Boy Advance, but I never played the Game Boy Color games or even the one on the original Game Boy. So when I was researching it, I was surprised to see that the subtitle of the game is Wario Land and the proper title is Mario Land 3. If I knew this at any point, that the game was technically the third entry in the Mario Land series, then it went right over my head. But it felt relevant. Mario Land 2 just came out on the Nintendo Switch Online service and I played through it for the very first time. If you've been following my channel for a while, you'll probably know that I like to start my review series from the beginning, so naturally this meant, hey, what about a video about the first Mario Land? I admit that I entertained the idea of reviewing the Mario series from the very, very beginning, starting with Donkey Kong, and actually found some interesting content for that, but I might rework that into a video on Donkey Kong for the Game Boy because it feels more relevant there. So then I got to work. I recorded a playthrough of Mario Land 1, took notes throughout it, played through it 2 times, once on the normal playthrough and another time on expert level difficulty New Game Plus mode, and it took me just over an hour total, including both playthroughs. So, because I can't bear to make a video under 20 minutes long, I decided that I'm gonna make this a double feature, focusing on Mario Land 1 and Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins. Now, I totally missed out on the Game Boy and Game Boy Color growing up. My first handheld console was the Game Boy Advanced, and I wouldn't even learn about Mario Land as a game until finding a flash animation of it on Newgrounds by animator Orangefoot that had characters singing along to Bohemian Rhapsody. And from that point on, the music alone for the game became a micro-obsession for me. So while a bunch of you millennials out there were learning about the song from Wayne's World, I was learning about it from goddamn Newgrounds animations. That's also how I learned about porn. So the original Game Boy was home to a plethora of iconic franchises, from Pokemon to Metroid and even third-party entries like Mega Man, Tetris, and Contra. But when it came to Nintendo's Golden Child, he actually got the shorter end of the stick here. It was instead Nintendo R&D 1 that was tasked with bringing the beloved mascot to the handheld device for launch day, intending to be packaged with the console as a way to boost sales. And while I don't doubt that Mario could have driven some sales, Nintendo instead decided to package the game with Soviet Falling Block Simulator instead of the illustrious plumber. Honestly, as much as I love Mario, I think that this was the right call. Tetris ultimately did a much better job at appealing to practically everybody, and the decision didn't spell doom and gloom for Mario because the game still ended up selling pretty well. And we could probably thank Gunpei Yokoi, the head of R&D 1 for that, a man who contributed to Donkey Kong and the Game & Watch line. But if you're a fan of this channel, then you probably also know him as the creator of the Metroid franchise. Yeah, I have a lot to thank this man for. Miyamoto, though, was notably hands-off with this game, resulting in some inconsistencies with established series elements and peculiar level designs that definitely stick out like a sore thumb if you compare them side by side. It is important to know that a lot of these decisions were born from the system's limitations. Not that the console couldn't handle more ambitious ideas, but this was being developed before the thing was even shipped to the public, so a lot of the tech literacy around developing for the thing was very limited. While the console's limitations were the reason that Samus got her iconic shoulder pads, Mario didn't get quite as lucky. Rather than the guy platforming over grassy plains under blue skies, he instead traversed Egyptian pyramids, Easter Island heads, and throughout ancient China. Honestly, considering the mere 8 kilobytes of RAM that this thing had to work with, it's a miracle that they could even figure out side-scrolling that moves with the player. And now, let's take a second to thank today's sponsor. If you're tired of spending a fortune on earbuds that promise you great sound but fall short, then you should look no further than Raycon. Raycon is on a mission to prove that you don't need to pay an arm and a leg for sound quality and essential smart tech listening features. It's a no BS product, and you'll be paying half the price for the same, if not better quality earbuds than their competition. You could get a pair and even a spare to go along with it and still pay less than you would with some other big name tech brands out there. Now, I've been pretty vocal vocal about my skepticism about Raycons. I remember telling them that I won't take your sponsorship unless it turns out that your earbuds are as good as they say they are. And so they sent me a pair, and I can say for certain that the everyday earbuds are as good as they say they are. Part of this is because I've never really had a good experience with earbuds in general. This might be a little TMI, but I've always had a smaller ear canal on one side, so I'll have my earbuds in, and one of them will always fall out. Every time. But thanks to their assortment of gel inserts that let me mix and match how they fit my ears, I was finally ready to give these earbuds not just a chance, but take them out with me on the go, and I've been very happy with this. I'm finally able to hear earbuds in stereo, which meant I was able to enjoy their arrangement of sound profiles. My personal favorite is the bass profile. It just brings out the sounds just right. Try it out if you get a pair, you'll see exactly what I mean. They offer free domestic shipping and can ship internationally for a flat fee, complemented by a free and easy money-back guarantee if you change your mind. With over 50,000 5-star reviews, you can trust that Raycon has your back. So don't wait now. Click the link in the description and go to buyraycon.com/travguy to get 15% off a pair of Raycon earbuds today and experience sound quality at an affordable price. Thank you so much for sponsoring today's video, and now let's get back to the meat of it. While the gameplay was undoubtedly Mario, the premise did take a turn from the usual formula, veering away from the traditional storyline of Princess Peach's abduction at the claws of King Bowser, to instead being focused around a new antagonist that takes the reins in the form of a telepathic extraterrestrial alien, Tatenga, who's kidnapped the Princess Daisy from Wario Land. I had to record that line several times because I kept saying Sarasasa Land. I had no idea why I was messing up this line so bad, and then it finally hit me. What's another one of my favorite games? Metal Gear Solid. Revolver Ocelot's a pretty cool character, and you know what his codename was in Russian? Shalashaska, which is Russian for prison if I recall correctly. The human brain works in mysterious ways. For both games that I focused on recording for this video, I didn't use any save states or rewinds as much as I really did want to at times. And a lot of that boils down to Mario's just generally stiff controls. Don't get me wrong, I really do love this game, but man are the controls really frustrating at times. While the guy still has a bit of his momentum platforming and doesn't stop on a dime, I'm convinced that he's really only got 3 states of speed, making platforming feel incredibly inconsistent and just straight up difficult at times. And I think that this decision was because of the very low amount of real estate that Mario takes up on the screen. And that says a lot because the Game Boy's resolution is already incredibly tiny. Blocks are only 8 pixels wide, and I don't care how small your display is, this is gonna make platforming a pain. And even once you get the hang of it, which you might not considering how short the game is, innocuous items like Koopa shells will still keep you on your toes. You can't kick Koopa shells in this one, and instead they just explode, meaning that if you're in a situation where a Koopa's on a platform and you need to think to plan how you want to jump shortly after, you gotta get out of there first so you're not caught in the explosion. And I actually really like this. It's such a bizarre change that doesn't detract at all from the Mario formula and still feels fresh almost 4 decades later. Wait, did I get that right? Has it really been almost 4 decades? How long ago was 1989? Oh my god, 34 years. Yeah, we're halfway through this decade. Good lord. Now, I'm someone who's incredibly easy to entertain, and for someone like me, killing a larger enemy is almost worth the cost of admission alone. Just the way that they squish down and then jump off screen in this predefined arc with this horrifically bit-crush noise to boot, it caught me so off guard the first time I played this game that I had to pause the game just to stop laughing. Now, despite all of my frustrations when it came to platforming with this game, I'd still managed to not get a single game over during my normal mode run. Expert mode, that's a different story. Unlike Mario Bros. 1 or even Kirby Dream Land, enemies aren't replaced with harder enemies during expert mode, and instead there's just a whole bunch more of them. I can't really say if this is harder or not than just replacing the Goombas with Buzzy Beetles, but it's a different type of challenge, and yeah, it actually messed me up a couple times. Once at the very beginning of the game because I just wasn't used to all these like floating bugs with spears in the second level, and then another time right at the final boss, which was very cool. Now there are continues, so you can start the level over again if you get a game over, but there are a limited amount of them. In any other game, this would be kind of annoying, but given how short the game is, I really didn't mind this. If your favorite game in the series is the very first Super Mario Bros. On the NES, then you're gonna feel right at home with this game's power-ups, which is a really poor way of me trying to say that there's only mushrooms, flowers, and stars in this one. Specifically not fire flowers. These are instead Super Ball flowers that turn Mario into, you guessed it, Super Ball Mario. It doesn't change his appearance at all, but is still a projectile weapon that Mario can use. Fireballs in the older games would still be fired down at a 45-degree angle, but would still be affected by gravity. It was a really early instance of a physics-driven projectile in a Mario game. The Super Ball is still fired downwards at a 45-degree angle, but isn't affected by gravity, bouncing around the screen like it's a game of Atari's Breakout. Man, if we want to talk about Mario items being neglected by Nintendo, this is a pretty big one to me. I totally get it. It's a lot easier to program a bouncing ball like this than it is to program a bouncing fireball, but I think that it still could have brought a lot to a new Mario game and was completely neglected until appearing in a minigame in WarioWare Gold in late 2018, and not even appearing in a mainstream Mario title until Super Mario Maker 2, which, you know, does feel a little bit like cheating, but I think it still counts. Functionally, it really is just a fire flower that can cover more area, which is really close to actually being better than the original thing. The catch is that you can only have one of these Super Balls on screen at a time, and if it gets caught in a closed space, you're stuck waiting for it to despawn before you can fire another. This doesn't happen a lot. There's not a lot of levels that even have a ceiling, but when it happens, you can't ignore it. It is very annoying. The soundtrack this time is composed by Hirozaku Tanaka, and it is incredible, to put it lightly. I think that this might be one of the best soundtracks in a 2D Mario, full stop. This is another part of the series that is a little overly neglected by Nintendo. I mean, I thought it was a pretty huge deal when the underground theme appeared in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, which I think was made even funnier because this isn't the underground theme. I mean, maybe it's because it was used as the underground theme for the Subspace Emissary in that one level, but I don't think that's the case. Mario Land's real underground theme is a lot less interesting. Hey, I don't want to ruffle any feathers, but I don't think that would work very well in Smash Brothers. This sounds like something you'd hear in Looney Tunes when that bald guy is hunting down that funny internet rabbit. What was that guy from? Multiverses? Yeah, that's it. I'd never say that the Mario Land soundtrack is bad by any means, but it does have a couple of interesting choices, or I guess choice, singular. It's the invincibility theme. Someone out there really thought that, hey, yeah, the invincibility theme, that's not good enough. Give me the goddamn can-can. It's definitely a more unique take on the invincibility theme. I'm not gonna say it's bad or even that there's some style mismatch, it's just a strange choice. Like, this isn't a video game composition, this was a song made by a famous composer that was brought into the game. Imagine you were playing Mega Man and every time you got a new weapon, it started playing Scott Joplin's The Entertainer. That would be weird for sure. I wouldn't exactly complain though. Remember the glory days of beating Bowser by dropping him into a lava pit by touching an axe? That's not what I meant. Oh my god! I thought the guy was just gonna fall into the lava, but no, he just straight up went nuclear! My lord, the bridge is out! What?! Thank you, Mario. Oh, Daisy. Can't say I've ever dated an insect before, but hey, I'm open to anything. Finishing a castle guarantees a chance at one of these ladder minigames, offering a chance at a flower or 1 to 3 one-ups. But this minigame isn't exclusive to this point. You can find these at the end of basically every stage in the game. You just need to make sure to finish the level at the top gate, which, as you go on through the game, become more and more difficult to reach. It's incredibly easy to make sure that Mario stops on the row that you want. The wild card, though, is gonna be this ladder that keeps moving between them. It wasn't exactly reliable, but I found that waiting it out can cause Mario and the ladder to desync a bit, making it a little bit easier to time what you're trying to go for. My strategy was to get as many 1-ups as possible, roughly about 10 or so at least, and then just aim for flowers every time. That way if I miss, I'm still getting extra lives. Why did we enter this level from a UFO? Was this stored inside the pyramids? Are there aliens in the pyramids, or were these built by Eggman like in Sonic Adventure 2? I'm just asking because why are there robots here? Can't get any weirder than that, right? Oh, that's just straight up a Seadra. That's not even a seahorse. I mean, honestly, that's the least weird thing here. I mean, if we could have Kirby show up in a Zelda game, then sure, why can't Pokemon show up in a Mario game? And that's why we're taking the fight straight to them! 2-3 is the first of 2 shmup sections, and honestly, I think that these are pretty fine. They're not exactly difficult, this ain't no R-Type, but nothing is gonna come from the left side of the screen. Outside of the boss fight at the end of this, you're lucky if something's gonna kill you. These water types think they're so goddamn smart by luring me down here and spelling my name with coins. Joke's on you, I'm 53 coins richer now, and you're still dead. Why was the hippocampus mooing at me? I mean the seahorse, not the thing inside your brain? Yeah, I know what a hippocampus is. You ever watched Meet the Robinsons? He cracked that shit. Daisy, oh Daisy, please tell me we're both fish people because we are going to drown. I know some of you would still hit it, don't lie. I am freaking stun-locked right now. Yeah, sure, screw it. Easter Island heads in my Mario game? Why not? The Moais are our friends now. Oh god, I take it back. The vine booms are hostile. Ah, yeah, of course. I should have known. I was supposed to ride that meatball rock instead of jump on the spike bed. Duh! Now I know how meatball feels. I wrote in my script that you need to make sure that you understand this boulder riding mechanic because it's used for the boss of this world, but even though that's not untrue, you need it to, you know, beat this level too, so, good luck not knowing that by then. Oh, I totally meant to do that. Yeah, just damage boost through the guy. Why not? World 4 does at least bring some challenge to the table, alongside this ancient Chinese aesthetic, which I really like, accompanied by yet another absolutely wonderful track here. Not exactly sure if words can do it justice, and this still isn't even the best song in the game in my opinion. Part of this being the hardest world in the game is a big thanks to the Pyeonpis. Literally bouncing undead vampires inspired by the Jiangxi from Chinese folklore, described as stiff, hopping corpses that drain their victims of their life energy. Now that part isn't directly translated into Mario Land. Don't expect these guys to start sucking away Mario's life energy like a goddamn Metroid, but they are still undead, hopping zombie things, which to a little 9-year-old Trav, as soon as he figured this out and that they weren't just funny-looking jumping people, did spook him just a little bit, but he was a wimp, so whatever. What does he know? Give him a boot to the head and they'll get right back up a couple seconds later, and can only be permanently removed from the field if taken out with a Super Ball or Starman. They're definitely one of the more interesting enemies of the game. I think I could say that pretty confidently, at least for when it comes to what they offer to the gameplay, because design-wise, I think my favorite has to go out to these Hamsar snakes. Ah, classic Hamsar. He always had a ticket to the bake sale. The penultimate level here is another shmup section, and somehow I found it even easier than the first one. Your worst enemies are going to be these birds that do this half-circle dive pattern at you, but every block in this stage that can drop a power-up is gonna be near the top of the screen, so you might as well just hover up there and just keep firing until you get something. Sure, you may need to dodge some bullet Benjamins, but that shouldn't be too much of an issue, right? Just be careful about the big fistos. There's an extra one here if you're playing on expert level. I must have read the pamphlet wrong. I was supposed to be meeting Tatanga here. Is that you? You look kind of cloudy today. Move for me, you overcast freak. Alright, I'll give him credit. Tatanga's actually a little tricky. At least he is until you learn that you really don't need to bother aiming for the guy. If you're fast enough, you can shoot down his projectiles so that they don't hit yours. And his sprite takes up so much real estate on the screen that really just avoiding his projectiles and firing yours at a consistent speed, you're practically guaranteed to keep hitting him. Just focus on dodging his bullets, make sure that you come out of it alive, and he'll eventually just go down on his own. Hello, Daisy, my monster girl wife. Let's go put on Frankenstein and— oh wait, no, she's the real one. Oh well, not everyone gets a happy ending. Well, our portable quest is over. Princess Daisy has been saved, and it's time for our hero to return to the surface below with a rocket ship? Weren't we just in the sky? That seems like a bit overkill. It's alien tech, whatever. Just shut up and enjoy this beautiful credits music. Seriously, it is one of the best pieces in a Mario game that I've ever heard. I cannot emphasize this enough. So that was Super Mario Land, a short and sweet adventure that doesn't overstay its welcome. And that's great, that's exactly what it needed to be. It wasn't meant to be anything groundbreaking or even that unique. It was just supposed to be a Mario experience for a AA powered handheld computer for kids in the 90s. With that in mind, yeah, this game went above and beyond, but it was definitely far from what the console was capable of. And that wouldn't be showcased any more beautifully until the game's sequel launched in 1992. Mario Land 2 wouldn't begin production until 1991, 3 years after the release of the original and a whole year after Super Mario World. Because of the timing of this release, the game was more focused on trying to become a more unique Mario experience that focused more on incorporating design mechanics from older Mario games, especially Super Mario World. The project would still be helmed by Nintendo R&D1's Gunpei Yokoi, though this time directed by Hiroshi Kiritake and Takahiko Hosokawa. Kazumi Totaka, who previously worked on Mario Paint, was brought on to work on this game's music and sound effects, though this time borrowing a lot of them from older Mario games. This was so that familiar fans would recognize these sound effects more as Mario sound effects rather than sounds made with lesser hardware. And if you're familiar at all with Totaka's work, yes, his song is in this game too. This time, it's hidden on the Game Over screen if you wait for exactly 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Man, Totaka's song is another thing that actually used to give me the creeps growing up. To keep it brief, in a lot of games that Totaka worked on, he would hide this 13-note song somewhere in the game. Nothing about it is creepy, exactly. I just learned about it in the middle of the night in a dark room. The idea of seeing something familiar, but knowing that something that's different and you don't know what it is gonna be showing up in your ear any second now, that was a little too much for me back then. But it's charming, and even hidden in some of my favorite games like Luigi's Mansion. What's less creepy is the premise this time around for Mario Land 2. This time, rather than saving the Princess of the Week, Mario is now focused on taking back his castle from a brand new antagonist introduced to the series, Wario. A design explicitly made to just be a lazy design for an antagonist, which is pretty crazy to think, right? I don't think I'd ever say that Wario is more popular than Mario, but it almost feels like he's more beloved than the Red Plumber. People love this garlic-scented gremlin, and it's wild to think that he was conceived just because the artist could not be bothered to come up with a new design. At least that's what I think Kiyotake meant when he claimed that the design was based off of how uninspired he felt by working on a Mario game at the time. Simple questions like, why does this man look like Mario but he's evil? Why is he in the Mushroom Kingdom? Why does he hate Mario? Etc, are never addressed. Did he always wear this plumber's uniform? Did he do it to copy Mario? All that kind of stuff. Of course there's a lot of potential in a story like that, but this isn't that kind of game. And I definitely complain more if Wario wasn't such an established character in Mario lore today. Lore feels like the wrong word. Mario needs to collect the game's namesake, the 6 golden coins, to enter his castle and take it back from Wario, acting as 6 parts of a key that he left under his neighbor's doormat, I guess. Does this name also imply that the coins we've collected in previous games aren't golden? Are they something else entirely? You know, my grandma was allergic to fool's gold, so maybe she could tell me. Hello? Now, Mario Land 2 didn't leave quite as much of an impression on me growing up. I thought it was really cool that Mario's sprite looked a lot like his Mario World counterpart. At least once you have a mushroom, Tiny Mario, just what is wrong with him? I think the first time I ever saw Mario Land 2 was on YouTube, back when Fred was the most subscribed channel on the platform. And yeah, I thought it looked really cool, I wanted to play it, but it was just missing the pizzazz of enemies singing Queen music to really get me going. The control here is miles above Mario Land 1, both looking and feeling like a traditional Mario game, which, again, is really impressive given the platform. Though I think part of this is because Mario isn't like 3 pixels wide in this game. Need I remind you that the amount of RAM on this thing is enough to hold 2 whole Atari 2600 games. Actually, that sounds more impressive than it kind of is. They even brought Mario's spin jump back from Mario World. I almost said Wario World. That's a very different game. Holding the down direction while Mario is in midair will make the guy start spinning, able to break blocks as long as he's Big Mario. And because of this button combination, you could even activate this while doing a normal jump. You don't need to hold down first, which definitely has a lot of potential to add some, you know, creative movement into Mario's arsenal, selectively turning on and off the spin jump midair, but nah, they didn't really do anything with that, which is totally fine. This would have definitely raised the difficulty ceiling. This does come with a couple of hitches though. One of the new upgrades in the game, the bunny carrot, or just carrot as it's actually called, it doesn't even have a cool prefix, it's just carrot, completely disables the spin jump, which will only be an issue for a couple of the game's secret exits. And while we're on the topic of the carrot, this thing might be the most overpowered slowing Mario's descent power-up in one of these games. It doesn't let Mario fly like the raccoon tail or the super cape, but leaves Mario's vertical positioning practically untouched. It is baffling how slow you fall while in bunny form, which isn't a sentence I've said out loud yet. It's kind of weird to say bunny Mario. I have just texted my thumbnail artist to draw Mario as a bunny girl for the video thumbnail, and I in this moment won't know until he does it on if he does do it. I'm so sorry in advance. Sure, obviously the cape feather is definitely better than this in terms of just traversing the level. That actually just lets you indefinitely fly, but it doesn't slow your descent quite as much as this thing. And because only one level per world here has a secret exit, you can basically just use this to skip any challenge that platforming segments have. The ability to hold Koopa shells returns here. Yeah, they don't explode in this one, though there is an exploding enemy, but Mario doesn't have a unique sprite for actually holding anything in these games, so now it just sort of sits on top of his head, and there's an interesting bit of consistency with that now, because if you jump against something like a block or the ceiling, you can slam that poor turtle and kill the dude like it's a goddamn WWE cage match. But yeah, we've got 6 worlds in this game instead of the 4 in the last one, with each having some optional levels. There's 31 of them total here, and every world doesn't have the same amount of stages in them. The twist, though, is that after that first stage, you're brought into a hub world and can pick any world that you want to start with, each of them utilizing gimmicks that make them all equally difficult to start with. Now, this isn't perfect. The difficulty curve definitely remains flat for most of it until spiking up once you find Wario's castle at the end, but honestly, I think that gets a little overblown. We'll talk about it when we get to it. The bonus minigame is still here, and you find it essentially in the same method, but instead you're ringing a bell rather than opening a second door. And there's some variety here too, but all you really need to know is that as long as you're mashing that button, you're almost guaranteed a carrot as soon as it starts, though less so with the wire puzzle. Your coin counter now actually counts how many coins you have in an inventory system. No longer do you get a 1-up by simply collecting 100 coins. Now you actually need to spend them in a sort of casino in a mountain, but there's 4 tiers of them, one of which is even the max amount of coins you could possibly have that gives you a chance at a 99 up. Instead, our double-digit counter is now reserved for enemies. That's the amount of enemies you've defeated, and you don't get a 1-up for reaching the max count, but you get a free Starman, meaning that if you play your cards right and memorize layouts well enough, you essentially have a pocket star power-up with you at all times. That is fucking wild, and it's made it even a little bit more exciting thanks to the new invincibility song. It's more of a beat with a sort of whistle in the background, but it's got some charm to it. Also, worlds are called zones now because I guess Sonic didn't have any domain on the Game Boy. Oh, I get it now. It's a game where our protagonist has to take down an evil version of himself through zones. Top that off with the pyramid UFOs, and this really is Sonic Adventure 2. Now, where the hell is the Chow Garden? The Fire Flower is back and now actually behaves like it does in, well, every game that the Fire Flower is in up to this point. Now represented by a feather on Mario's head because, you know, you can't really see his color change too much. That's better than nothing. And the Fire Flower can actually destroy specific blocks now. This is used pretty creatively, like in the secret here where you need to use a Fire Flower to destroy these blocks, run to an enemy and take damage so that you can fit through the crevice with Small Mario, landing a couple free 1-ups along the way. You'll need to know all of these if you want to get the secret exits in the game, which aren't required by any means, and are often just more treasure troves of 1-ups. But the exploration is kinda nice. You just gotta be a little bit careful when you finish a stage though, because if you get a mushroom in that bonus minigame, it'll overwrite your existing power-up, which is very annoying. Give me back my fursuit, please. Hello, you silly old bird. I'd like my house back. If you're looking at the game's overworld, you may have noticed that there's actually only 5 worlds here, plus a level that has a giant sleeping hippo in it. See, that's actually because we need to ride inside the snot bubble of this hippo here to kiss the skies for long enough to reach the star zone. I'd like to say for the record that I am sober right now. The stage does technically have 2 exits, and if you find the bottom one, you'll just be spit back out into the overworld. You need to make sure that you take the top exit by taking the bubble all the way to the end of it in order to get to the next zone. But you could just hold down the jump button at the very beginning and fly all the way to the end. Nothing will get in your way. No amount of Gordos from Kirby can be a nuisance to you here. Anyways, welcome to the final frontier. Don't forget to pay tributes to the pig cannons in space. If you find the secret exit in the star zone, a star crashes into the moon and makes him incredibly upset. Yeah, someone's got a real thorn in his side, or star in his head. Okay. It's here that I learned the hard way that if you die inside of a world's bonus level, you need to find that secret exit again. So that's fun. Don't plan on that happening. None of them were actually really that much of a challenge. One of them even spells out the title of the game, Mario Land 2, in coins, you know, just in case you forgot what game you're playing. Making it to the end of Star Zone actually has a completely lore-irrelevant fight against a returning Tatenga. Yeah, we don't even need a gunship to take him down this time. Just avoid his barrage of projectiles that, you know, is a little bit intimidating at first, but the moment you get through that, he's practically begging to be stepped on. Look, you saw the giant fists that protect his lair, okay? You know what he's into. Alright, Mario, it's time you down some Pim particles and become one with the ants in the macro zone. Fuck. Ants are the predominant enemy here, with several varieties, all looking mostly identical, at least until you find the ones that have some extra features, like a funny little spiky head that you can't step on, or a goddamn bullet bill launcher on its head. Some of them even have a shovel. Wow, shovels are very cool. But hey, if you hate ants, then you can use the fire flower to break some blocks here to reach the special stage of this zone and skip right to the boss of it after beating it. This boss may be a giant rat, but he don't make all the rules. I'm sorry, I've been watching Germa again. Funny internet clown makes me laugh. Hey, you son of a bitch, you stole my heart! That's it, I'm not telling Jason you love him. Oh, yeah, no, that's literally Jason. Wow, so cool and edgy of Nintendo to put Jason masks with a knife in their head. Shut up, Gerard. I'm sorry, Gerard, I didn't mean it. I know you have a lot on your plate. Also, thank you, Alucard, you killed me. This is the only one of these guys that appears in the whole game, and they only spawn a bat so that you can use it as a platform to get up to this heart here. Now, I'm never gonna play Symphony of the Night. Oh, please, God, get me out of the tongue cave. Pumpkin Zone is actually unique for having 2 bonus levels in it, which actually isn't too special because Mario's balls don't have a secret in them. That sentence will make sense later. And both of these bonus levels lead you outside of Pumpkin Zone into the overworld. I'm not sure why they did that. They could have totally fit something in here, but it's neat that they had that little bit of consistency between both of them. Oh, the Wabbit season music is back. Hold on, is that a goddamn roundworm? This pumpkin's got parasites, man. I can't believe you stole my heart and then killed me. Man, if this game came out any later, you know that Wario would have turned this giant Mario statue into, you know, him. Why does Mario have this, actually? Is it a robot? Is it just a giant house with, you know, Legos and gears inside? What do they do? There's no secret levels here, so you could just enjoy blowing right through the whole thing, including the bouncy ball level inside of Mario's crotch. Look, I'm legally obligated to mention this, because if I don't, the YouTube man will kill me. The stages are more vertically focused, that's pretty cool, but why are there 3 little pigs inside of my head? Am I supposed to be the big bad wolf? They made their house in me! At least this boss takes more than 3 hits to win. I mean, there's only 3 enemies and each of them take 3 hits, but it's something. I'll take any opportunity I can to step on some pigs. Oh, the The Koopas have finally had their revenge! Wait, hold on, are you telling me it's Turtle Zone, not Koopa Zone? Man, no, all those years of being pedantic on the playground and telling kids they're not turtles, they're Koopas has been completely invalidated. I'm sorry, Mrs. Johnson in 3rd grade school class. Call me Jonah, because I'm inside this goddamn whale. I almost cut that joke out of my script, but I've accepted that anyone who plays Ultra Kill doesn't play Mario. Oh, wait, that's me. Why does this whale have so many uvulas? I love the music, but man, these bosses are lame. Alright, Bluto, I'm coming for you. Hey, look, I get it, Wario's a bad guy, but why does Mario even need this castle? Just let him keep it, man. And I'm not just saying that because the level's hard, because, oh my god, it is. Actually, what I mean, the first room of it is pretty hard. The rest of it is actually pretty easy, in my opinion. You just have to memorize which of these piranha plant turrets are actually gonna fire at you and which ones won't. The game's gonna pressure you to jump with this giant floating wrecking ball, knowing full well that you're about to jump into a fireball, so that's cool. But really, after that first room, the rest of it is just more platforming puzzles with a little bit of timing involved. Which, yeah, sure, I guess the previous room was too, but that's more like dodging. This is actually, you know, timing. No matter how easy you might think it is, though, you only get like 3 mushrooms throughout the stage. So unless you want to backtrack to get some more power-ups, you're going in mostly power-up-less until you get a winning streak or make it to the boss, because Wario just gives you upgrades for free, because he's nice like that. But first we need to take out his... What is this? Did Wario turn his face into a DVD screensaver? I don't know what I'm looking at here. Take the Dirty Wario challenge. Hit that bitch 29,998,000,000,000. Sure, it's a little tricky when 2 of them show up, but you could just, you know, desync them by waiting. Do you think that these were Mario versions of these before Wario took over and he just corrupted them? I hope so. I want to see the Mario ones. All right, you garlic bread bastard, give me back my house. Yeah, if you thought this boss was gonna be more unique, you were totally wrong. Just jump on the guy 3 times like every other boss in this game. Hey, maybe sometimes he'll actually drop a little light bulb on you, but that's as tough as it's gonna get. I do really like that they get you loaded with power-ups for each phase of the fight, matching you with the same power-up that Wario's gonna use against you. Except somehow they're even easier than just base Wario. The Rabbit Wario, first off, is not sexy, and second off, telegraphs where he's gonna stop, making it easier to actually jump on him. And the Fireball version just stands there. He's somehow more menacing when he's just pacing left and right like he's a goddamn Mega Man X3 boss. I'll give him credit though, I like that he turns into a baby when you beat him. Oh, he's bald now. So, in the end, I really liked these games. I don't really know what else to say. Yeah, sure, we could talk about how much these games are neglected. I know that I have. But it's also good to know that these games weren't entirely abandoned, just given to Wario. Super Mario Land 3 was Wario Land, and the first game in his own series of platformers. But these ones that were, you know, helmed by Mario, they were fun. The music was phenomenal, the visuals were creative at times, at least in the second one, and while the bosses were basic, their designs were fairly creative. Definitely a highlight for me. And of course, we can't ignore the significance of Wario's debut. Now, do I prefer Mario Land 2 over Mario World? No, probably not, but I think it's still worth your time if you care about the franchise. Honestly, the worst thing about beating it was learning that there's no New Game Plus difficulty mode, or just, you know, a harder difficulty unlocked when you beat it. At least it was longer. This one took me about 90 minutes compared to the previous game that I was able to beat twice in an hour, but regardless of their time, I think that they're definitely worth yours. Now put on the goddamn bunny costume.